Hi, guys. Welcome back to Rooted for Resilience, where we talk about recovering, reclaiming, reimagining, and rebuilding after significant loss, transition, or change in our lives. Yesterday I was watching a video on YouTube by Renee Coakley. Shout out Renee, who is, I'm in the cohort Build Your First Offer. And I got to thinking about that quite a bit after I watched it. And I think part of why I was thinking about that was because she was talking about one of the big obstacles for a lot of people in the group is the fear of being seen, right? And so that got me to thinking about the difference between authentic, authenticity and visibility in my own life. Um, because I spent a lot of years of my life hiding. And after I posted yesterday's video, I just, I wasn't in I didn't like it, right? Basically, I didn't like the video. And so I took myself on a hike because that's where I find my peace and my solace. And I really was thinking about why I was feeling the way that I was feeling and what is it about visibility? Am I afraid of being seen? Um, am I afraid of being visible? What am I afraid of exactly? And I think after that video yesterday, I think what I came to realize, it was the authenticity more than it was anything else, right? It was about showing up, being fully who I am, and how difficult, how much of a challenge that's been for me at different points in my life, especially when I was much younger in my life. Of course, I'm older now, so it doesn't really affect me the same way. But I wish I could say that it doesn't affect me at all, but that just wouldn't be true exactly. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about that today. I want to talk a little bit about, why that is and how I'm moving through it, and hopefully how you can move through that too. Um, I think the biggest thing that really occurred to me is that I had spent so many years of my life not being authentically who I am. Um, uh, and being on a YouTube channel kind of is really kind of putting yourself out there, right? But I want to be authentically who I am, and I think that's the only way that I can do this. I think that's the only way it's going to work for me, is if I just be who I am. Um, but for many years of my life, I was not authentically me for lots of different reasons. Growing up, I developed this the mask, right? Mask of hiding various different kinds of things. And that's a whole other story in of itself, not really what I'm talking about today. But anyway, I had a lot of practice developing masks in hiding things. And then because I grew up at a time when you know you weren't, it wasn't okay to be gay, right? It wasn't okay to be a lesbian, and I am a lesbian. And I hid a lot of that. I hid that fact from my family for a long time, just because it didn't feel okay to be authentically me. And I think that's where I was at yesterday, right? It's like, how am I going to do this thing if I can't be authentically who I am? Which led me to today's video, right? Of really kind of wanting to be authentically me, um, understanding that as I work on building other options, right? I kind of stepped into this process out of a place of wanting to build security and stability for myself after significant loss, a change in my life after the death of my wife, which I had mentioned previously. But I really also had a need to reestablish financial stability in my life, because that was very, very different. And so I realize now that I'm being called to a place to where I have to be willing to let go of some things. And I'm kind of in that process of shedding things that no longer fit me, no longer fit who I am, no longer fit different things about myself, old identities, ways of being in the world, the things that used to matter to me that don't seem to have as much weight, of letting go of kind of the some of the identity of who I've had for years. I'm kind of looking down at notes so I don't lose my place. Um, but that choosing to live in my authenticity, choosing to love myself for who I am, the way that I am, has been a lifelong thing for me. And really, over the past 2 years, I've really had to do a lot of work around that, coming to a place of acceptance for who I am, for the great things about myself, and the things that I want to continue to work on and change. But that choosing myself, choosing to be authentically who I am, is a courageous act of self love, and that's kind of where the process that I'm in now. And like I mentioned earlier, I spent a lot of my years not being honest with other people, um, not so much being dishonest, just being avoidant, right? I mean, I grew up when I didn't even realize this thing about myself probably until I was in my early 20s. And then later on, it became where I just kind of society was in a place to where it was not okay to be out. It was not safe to be out. I looked on YouTube, right? And that was the other thing. I was looking around, where can I find myself reflected, and there doesn't seem to be a space, right, for older older lesbians going through life transitions. I don't see people talking about that. And I don't think that, my sexuality is a defining factor, because I think the issues are the same no matter what those changes are. We all are going through very similar things. But I think when we can see ourselves reflected back to us, it helps to strengthen our sense of connection and belonging in the world. And that's really important in order for us to be able to take on challenges, to step outside of our comfort zone. We have to see other people doing it, people that look like us, right? That are like us. That is important. And so that's kind of where I'm at in this process. And one of the barriers has been, I had to look at that after I watched Renee's video, and see that, there was not going to be any more hiding, that it was not that I was hiding to begin with. That's not what I mean. But I mean, on here, the transparency, the authenticity, I don't want to have to censor what I say and how I say it and when I say it and about whom. I don't want to do any of that. That defeats the whole purpose, right? And I want people that want to be on this journey with me. I want them to also feel like that they can be completely who they are and completely authentic. Um, but I realized that in building other options for myself, financial options, just transitioning into other ways of being, that's going to take time, right? And that I have to put in the work. I have to work through the discomfort. I have to be willing to be uncomfortable, right? Getting comfortable with discomfort. And that's definitely not a strong suit of mine. I'd rather stay where it's safe, and where it feels a little bit more stable and not as risky. But there's no growth in that comfort zone, and I know that. So I've decided to embrace my discomfort, to embrace the change that I've initiated in my life, to hold on to the reins and just to go with it, right? And to be directing part of that for myself, and not letting it be up to other people. And that's going to require consistent action on my part. That's part of what this 30-day challenge is about, right? We're supposed to post every day for 30 days. And I've sat here for a long time and was like, oh, you just got to hit record. You just got to hit record. And so I finally did, because I am willing to just embrace the change. And I know that if I do that, that I will gain a sense of mastery over what's happening. And that I'll find the inspiration in my day-to-day life, and the things that happen, because I know I'm not the only one, right? I mean, I generally am not the only one when it comes about anything. um I can do those things. I can step into my power. I can pursue my passions. I can try new things, but I can't do it from the safety of my couch. And, you know, I belong to a couple of Facebook groups, or one in particular. And, you know, I think it's hard as an older lesbian in the world. There's a lack of visibility, I think. Um, there's not that built-in support system sometimes that there is in the heterosexual world for different things. But that's how it's been for me. I don't know how it is for other people. I just know how it's been for me. Um, but I know that if I can place my trust in myself, love myself, tune into my intuition, to follow what spirit calls me to do, that I can move through this process and get to the other side. And that's what I'm trying to do, right? Sure, you know, visibility has a risk, but self erasure has a cost. And I'm not wanting to pay that high of a cost today. So I decided just to go all in, right? Be vulnerable, be open. This is me. This is who I am. Hence all of this. I spend more of my days like this than I do working. I'm trying to transition out of the career that I've been in for a long time and do something else. And this is part of it that I'm trying to do. I don't know that this will be the thing that will stick and stay, but it's a thing that I'm trying right now. And you know, I'm hoping that other people will see themselves, will find some inspiration and some connection through this channel, because that's what I'm trying to do. So you tell me, where have you been hiding? Where have you been reluctant to be visible and vulnerable? Share it with me in the comments below, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.